Welcome to episode 7 of Cricket Banter. So we've got just over a month to go until the 12th edition of the Cricket World Cup, and I decided to do something really cool with you guys today. So today, with the World Cup being just over a month away, we are going to be doing an awesome analysis, and today we are going to be looking at South Africa's World Cup squad selection. Who are the players that should be involved? Who should be left out? I read earlier something like 43 different players have been tested since the 2015 version of the World Cup. We only have 15 to choose, and I wanted to give my analysis as to what I believe the best squad that has the best chance of us winning a World Cup would be. So the selectors are announcing the actual squad tomorrow. I wanted to create this video before they did. I don't want to be influenced at all by what I think they will choose, by what they may choose. I wanted to do an independent analysis and compare it to what is actually decided. So cool, let's get going. Cool. Now that that's out of the way, this is all about the World Cup that is coming up in just over a month's time. South Africa is announcing their squad tomorrow. Now, I'm going to select my squad and I'm going to go into a lot of detail, a lot of deep analysis as to what I believe the best squad should be. I don't believe that the squad that I pick is going to be the squad that Cricket South Africa picks. This isn't about me being right and choosing a side that will be picked by CSA. This is about me giving an analysis to understand what I believe and what Cricket Banter believes is the best possible squad that South Africa could choose for the World Cup to bring home the World Cup. Okay, so how I'm going to do this, I'm going to start off with the 11 that I think is actually the best team, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend it into the 15. Okay, now I criticize a lot of people, I criticize a lot of the selectors, I give them grief because they make mind-blowing decisions that irritate me, to say the least. And for example, not giving Tahir a contract. Anyway, we've tried 43 players in the last 4 years, pretty much since the last World Cup. A lot of the time, I don't actually believe they know what they're doing. But sometimes they do get it right, and there are often times where I have to give them credit. I do feel like we still don't really know who our best team is. And in 4 years, I believe you should. I think we got pretty close to understanding our best team. I don't think we're quite there. I think it was a disgrace that Aiden Markram had to do what he had to do to even bring his name back into the conversation, but we'll get there. Okay, so let's get into this. Now, before I do this, before I give my analysis, I thought this was pretty cool. So they asked the fans, who's in your World Cup squad? And I won't go through each and every single name, but you could see, the big names right at the top. I'd love to know, if it was you, please actually just DM me. Just please, I'd love to have a conversation with you. You don't even have to do it on camera. I won't embarrass you in public. I would love to know your logic behind who are the guys. It's not 100% for De Kock, for Faf, for KG, and for Tahir. Where's Tahir? 99.1%. Who are the guys that have left, or girls or people that have left these guys out of the squad? I'd love to understand your logic. But that's why Cricket Banter's here. We're here to educate those few that don't, they might not be on that level of understanding of the game. Now, they've put Morris in the squad. I'm going to explain to you why he should be nowhere near that squad. Next, we looked at Sean Pollock's World Cup XR. Again, he's also included Chris Morris in the squad. He left out Hendricks, funnily enough. Interesting call by Sean. Then we've got Mark Hasemans. I really like this squad a lot. He included Hendricks. He's left out Norkie. That was this is a pretty. If the selectors went with the squad, I'd be pretty happy. My squad is a little bit different, but it's pretty good. Mackay and Tini. So he left out Amla. Lots to talk about there. We're going to get there. He put in a guy by the name of Kyle Verreynne, who's an unbelievably talented youngster. I believe he was in the Under-19 World Cup squad. Apparently, this guy's the next big thing in South African cricket. boundless talent. Apparently, he is an absolute machine with the bat. Only seen him bat in, I think, a couple T20s, maybe one or two Momentum One Day Cup knocks. No doubt, massive future. For me, you cannot include an uncapped player who's never played for South Africa, who doesn't understand the pressure of playing international cricket, who you're now going to throw into the mix of doing that in a World Cup. Talk about trying to ruin a player's career. Talk about trying to not give yourself the best chance of success as a team. So for me, you can't put Varane in the squad. Sorry, Mackay, I completely disagree with you there. Then we have Pat Simcox's World Cup XR. So he's got a couple of interesting inclusions. So he also interestingly puts in Morris. Olga, he put in there. Now look, Olga's actually got a pretty decent list average. He averages about 40 with the bat and at a strike rate of around 80, which you don't really associate with Dean, but it just shows he can adapt. I know for South Africa, he started off his career in the one-day team before he actually made his test debut. And he really did struggle. I can't remember his average offhand. It was low 20s, a strike rate of around 67. He hasn't really been in the mix for a long time. He has been in pretty good form in the Momentum One Day Cup competition. But for me, you can't put someone like that in the squad. He's also left out Hendricks, interestingly enough. So next we're going to be looking at some recent breaking news that came out. South Africa's CEO, Cricket South Africa CEO, Thabang Moreau, he has publicly stated, and this is huge, and this is where I do need to give CSA credit. I give them a lot of shit, and this is where I do need to take a step back and actually acknowledge that they've done something really, really beneficial for South Africa's World Cup chances. This isn't a discussion about targets and BEE, that's for another episode at another time. What he announced is that no targets have been given for this World Cup squad selection. This is huge. Now, understand this, CSA has a policy that requires the national team to average 55% players of color in all formats throughout the season. There are also separate criteria for the number of black players and colored players, but at an average, 55% non-white. Now, he went out a couple of weeks ago and he made some really, really important statements. He said that no targets have been given. The selectors will have the comfort that the team can go out there to win the tournament without the pressure of, having to play a certain player to fit a certain target. He also went on to say they'll pick a team that is suitable to win a specific match and not push a certain agenda. And I fucking love that and I respect that so much. If it's an average, cool, no problem over the course of a season. I can accept that. But for a World Cup specifically, you want your best team playing, whether it's 11 white players, whether it's 11 players of color, you want your best team on the field. The Institute of Race Relations in South Africa, they did a poll, and I found this really interesting. 82% of black South Africans don't want quotas. So just some food for thought. Again, I don't want to go into too much detail here. And all of this obviously came with after the 2015 semi-final fiasco against New Zealand. Hearts were broken. I was there. I was absolutely distraught. Literally, that and the 4-3-8 game, definitely the best two ODIs I've been to in a lot of ways. That was better than the 4-3-8 game, even though South Africa lost. What happened, in case you don't remember, is Abbott was on fire. The whole World Cup, he averaged something like 14 with the ball. He was an absolute machine, taking wickets all over the show. And for the semi-final, he was left out for a player of colour, Vern Philander, who's a great player, but who just wasn't bowling as well as Abbott. It was as simple as that, and it was really clear-cut that Philander was chosen because of his colour, which is unfair on Vern because he's good enough to not be chosen because of his colour. But in that particular game, in that particular position, Abbott was the better bowler. And we all know how that ended. It ended with heartbreak for South Africa. So I think credit to CSA, they don't want that kind of situation to arise again. If they're demanding that we win the World Cup, if they're expecting that we get really far in the tournament, I remember reading they want Otis Gibson to get to the final. That's like his target. Then I think it's only fair that they give him free rein and say you can select whoever you want to be selected. Cool, let's get into it. South Africa's, Cricket Banter's World Cup XV. Okay, this is the 15-man squad. Big talking point here. My opener is none other than Hashim Amla. Okay. Now, a lot can be said about this. We know Hash hasn't been in the greatest of form lately. He's struggling with confidence. He's got personal issues going on, some family matters. Maybe his head's not in it. Hash is an absolute legend of the game. He's, in my opinion, he is as an opening batsman in the history of ODI cricket. There's not many that you can compare to Hash. I'd put him up there with Tendulkar. I don't know any other openers off the top of my mind that are on that level. That is how good Hashim Amla is as an opener. He's averaging around 50 as an opening batsman. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of talk about his form, and people don't believe he should be in the side. It is a contentious, I can kind of understand where you're coming from. This isn't something I'm going to fight you on, like with other players. I do believe Hash should be in the side. Let's look at his form recently in 2019, averaging 53.5 this year. It was only a couple of games ago that he scored that 100, unbeaten 100 against Pakistan. So it's an interesting discussion. Can you have different form over different formats? I've heard discussions where people say you're either in form or you're not, but you're either good enough in one format or you're not. And that's also an interesting discussion. But there's nothing here to suggest that Hash is in bad ODI form. Yes, he's in bad form. But if you look at, that 100, yes, it was made at home. It was against a really good Pakistan bowling unit. And he managed to average about 53 this year so far. So, Hash, he's the fastest to 2,000 runs, 3,000 runs, 4,000 runs, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 in the history of ODI cricket. No one has got to 2,000 to 7,000 runs faster than Hash. If he scores 90 runs in his next 3 innings, he'll be the fastest to 8,000 runs. He's ridiculous. People probably don't appreciate Hash as much as they should. The man's also averaging pretty much 50, let's round it up, at a strike rate of about 90. Those are insane numbers. He's one of the best opening batsmen in history. Now, I agree, there's no room for sentiment when it comes to this. And one of the people that I looked at and I'll kind of analyze is Reza Hendricks. Should Hendricks be chosen over Hash? For me, and I'll get into more detail later, I'm going to go with Hash. World Cup, Hash is that calm energy. He's that positive influence in the team. He's got that presence. He's got that aura. Even if he doesn't play every game, I believe just having him in the squad for the younger players to look up to, he has that calming influence, and that is so crucial in a World Cup. I also just feel that, what the problem with Hash is? Hash doesn't have a very good technique. He never has. He had one of the most incredible hand-eye coordinations ever. The problem with players with insane hand-eye coordinations are when they get older, they lose their hand-eye coordination and their technique lets them down. And that is what's happened to Hash. Same thing happened to Ricky Ponting. Now, I don't believe Hash's career is over. I think it is definitely dwindling down. I'd like to believe that he has one more big World Cup left in him. He has shown glimpses that he still has it. So I'm going to put Hash in my side. Like we can see, his form lately has not been great. I mean, look at some of these numbers. Single digits. There's no triple digit scores here. There's 150 here. Looking back probably 10, 12 innings, you're going to have to go a bit further back to find his 100. So, look, sentiments aside, I think his aura, his experience is definitely going to be needed. And so he's going to make my squad. Next, Quinton de Kock. I don't think we need to go into too much detail as to why de Kock should be in the squad. De Kock is an absolute machine. He's in incredible form at the moment. What an ODI! What a summer he had against Sri Lanka. He's doing phenomenally in the IPL at the moment. I truly believe that he could be one of the best performers for South Africa as a batsman in the World Cup. So I don't think there's any room for negotiation or justification why they included him in the squad. Number 3, Faf du Plessis, my captain. Faf, sorry, I didn't get a better picture of your hair and your biceps. But I absolutely am the biggest Faf du Plessis fan. I don't think that we appreciate Faf enough. I don't think world cricket appreciates Faf enough. Have a look at some of these numbers. Since 2014, in 2014 he averaged, let's round up, 53, 2015, 59, 2016, 48, 2017, 60, 2018, 62, and 2019, 68. Those numbers are ridiculous. It doesn't get much better than that. And like I say, people don't appreciate Faf enough. He is immense. He has been our best ODI batsman in the last 4 to 5 years, hands down. Um, I've got a problem with world cricket. Unless you're from the big three, from India, from England, from Australia, you don't often get the recognition as a player that you deserve. So those countries will put people up on a pedestal, and the rest of the world just accepts that. There have been some phenomenal players that don't get the recognition that they deserve because they're not from those countries, and I think that's really unfair. Jacques Kallis, if he was an Indian, he would literally there would be temples for Jacques Kallis. If Murali was from England, he would be knighted. There's just so many examples. Sangakkara, there's been some immense players that just haven't, for whatever reason, they don't get the recognition that they deserve, and I think that's really unfair. Overall, Faf averaging 46 at a strike rate of 89. What a fantastic ODI player. This is pretty cool. Since Faf's debut, which was in 2011, he has the 11th most ODI runs. Okay, since his debut, only 10 players have scored more runs in ODIs than Faf du Plessis. So Faf sitting here somewhere in the middle at 5,000 odd runs. Kohli, God, 9,000 runs. Obviously played quite a few more games than Faf. If we look at averages, Guptill's got a slightly better average, Williamson slightly better, Taylor, AB, Sangha, Amla. So Faf's up there with these big names, with the Amlas, the Sharmas, and the Kohlis. That is just how good Faf du Plessis is. Also, there's been a lot of experimenting with Faf. Where should he bat? For me, it's an absolute no-brainer. He has to be our number 3. The statistics, the stats show this. At number 3 is averaging 54 at a strike rate of 89. He is our best number 3. I'm not sure why they've been throwing him around the order. And in case that wasn't good enough, Faf du Plessis also has the best ODI captaincy record ever. Just let that sink in. Faf du Plessis has the best ODI captaincy record ever. Obviously, we've got to look at minimum cutoff. The minimum cutoff was 20 matches. For people that have captained 20 matches or more, Faf has the best, which is absolutely insane. He's winning South Africa's winning 83% of our games under Faf du Plessis as captain. He is 100% in my World Cup XP. So those people that left him out, the South African fans who selected the squad, please just let me know why. Maybe I'm missing something. Anyway, big one. Aiden fucking Markram. There's a lot to talk about here. Let's get into it. So, Markram made his debut probably a year or so ago. 2017 he made his debut. Overall, stats aren't looking great. Averaging pretty much 30. He was captain for, I think, 4 of those games. He got himself out. Bowlers didn't get him out. If you look at his dismissals, it's Markram getting Markram out. It's not a bowler getting Markram out. By the way, that's often a sign of a very good bowler. So anyway, his stats aren't amazing. You've got to give him a chance for South Africa. For me, he is the next big thing. I've heard people saying he's the next AB de Villiers. That is a massive statement. I'm not going to go as far as to say he's the next AB, but this guy is going... I'm going to put myself out there. He is going to be the next big legend in South African cricket. And I'm going to explain to you why. Now, his stats aren't great. And a lot of people are saying whether it's him or Hendricks that should make the side. And for a long time, it was, this debate of should it be Markram, should it be Hendricks. So let's go into the data. Let's go into the stats. Let's see what is the best decision ultimately for the benefit of South Africa. So I've heard some outlandish statements often in recent times that Reza hasn't done much wrong. Otis Gibson was quoted as saying that pretty recently. We've had a few other articles being written. He hasn't done much wrong. I can't understand. These are so-called experts of the game. These are coaches of South Africa, and I'm a big Otis fan. It was probably a slip of the tongue. But if I'm going to look at these stats, Reza hasn't done much right. Okay? If we're going to compare him and Markram, what's cool is they've both played 18 matches. Markram actually has a better average and a much better strike rate. We're talking 89 versus 77, where Markram's average is 30 versus Reza's 26. So just against each other, just based on stats, nothing else. For me, Markram takes it. When you consider that Markram also had the extra burden of captaincy for 4 of those games, okay, when you consider that he played against the likes of Australia, against India, where Reza's been playing against Sri Lanka, okay, let's also take that into consideration. Now, don't take this, I'm a massive fan of Reza. He is an exceptional player. He's very talented. But at the expense of Aiden Markram, not a fuck, not on my watch. If you do play Reza, I think it has to be at the expense of Hash. Having said that, I still wouldn't. Hash, for me, like I said, he is that calming influence, and a bad Hash versus what we've seen from Reza so far in terms of his average, 26. I'm pretty sure that Amla can average there and thereabouts. So if we're choosing a bad out of 2 bad players, if you're choosing the better out of 2 bad players, I'd rather go with the one who's got all the experience in the world, who has the best record in England out of any South African ever, and who has all the experience in this calming nature. So I would go Hash over Reza as well. Now, going back to Aiden Markram, I get upset about this. I think that it was a disgrace that he was dropped for the ODI series. I understand he was dropped. He didn't do well. He didn't do as well as he probably could have done. And it's okay. You sometimes got to drop players. No problem. I've got no issue with that. But I think it's disgraceful that he literally had to go to CSA's front door with a sledgehammer and smash his way back in without being given a fair chance, when they kept on giving Reza the chance after chance, and he would fail and he'd fail, and he was just given another chance and another chance. And I just think that was a little bit unfair on Aiden Markram. But anyway, let's get back into the analysis. So, moving on. What happened was he was dropped, and the maturity, he's 22, 23, so 24 years old, he's a lighty. When he was dropped, he said, I can't control the selectors. All we can control is the weight of big runs. What did he then go and do? Aiden Markram then went into the Momentum One Day Cup, and he did control the weight of big runs. He made 169, he made 139, he made an 85 of only 43 balls, and he made a 127, which, by the way, was in the final. That contributed to the Titans winning the final. Okay, you do not get a bigger fuck you to the selectors than these numbers over here. If this doesn't say fuck you, Cricket South Africa, nothing else does. He was the leading run scorer in the Momentum One Day Cup. Look at this. The next was Kyle Verreynne, interestingly enough. He played half the games of Kyle and scored more runs, and Kyle was second. An average of 108 and a strike rate of 132. This man is in form. This man is exceptional. So it was really through the sheer weight of runs where the selectors couldn't ignore him anymore. He forced his way into the South African XR. Why it irritates me is he shouldn't have had to force his way back into the XR. He's that good a player that you should just be able to see it. I can see it. A lot of cricket experts around the world could see it. Let's look at what they did against Sri Lanka over here. So, Reza against Sri Lanka. So Markram then got back into the side. Reza had scored 42 runs and an astounding average of 10.5 and a strike rate of 58. Markram came in for 2 games. He scored 96 runs, an average of 96, and a strike rate of 91. So he carried on his form into the one-day international series. Unfortunately, Markram was cock-blocked by the lights at Newlands Stadium. He was probably, I think he was 67 not out when there was a light failure. It would have been awesome if he could have got that, made an ODI 100. Reza was shit until the T20s came along. He wasn't in good form. And Reza was actually dropped, and it was only because of Hash's family issues that Reza was brought back into the game. And Reza came and he really did do well in the T20 series. For me, I can't take it as seriously. Different format, completely different format, as well as he played. For me, it has to be Aiden Markram. Mark Boucher has even said he will pay for Aiden Markram's flights. I will pay for Aiden Markram's flights. Okay? He has to be on that squad. He has to be in that team. Some people are still thinking, but his stats aren't great. Like, they're not that much better than Reza's. Why are you going on about this? Okay, listen to me. It's not just me. There are respectable cricketing minds in the world that are adamant on this. Graham Smith for one, Mark Boucher, so many other guys. This guy's a future superstar. Don't let the current stats fool you, okay? He's had 18 innings and he's averaging 29, okay? After 18 innings, AB fucking de Villiers averaged 21 and a half. Let that sink in. After the same amount of innings, Markram has a better average than AB, the best ever South African ODI player. It took AB 29 innings to break the 30 average mark. It took AB de Villiers 91 innings to break the 40 average mark. Sachin took 108 innings, okay, to break the 40 average mark. It's not how you start. Sometimes you can just see that a player is next level. Okay, not everyone may be able to see it. And you can't apply this logic with every player. You can't just bring everyone in and say, look, after 30 games, they're averaging 20, but AB took 91 games. It's not about applying that logic. Sometimes you can just see when a player is special. Not everyone can see it, and that's okay. Some of us are massive cricket fans and have watched literally tens of thousands of hours, and we can just see the matrix when others can't. But if you've watched enough cricket and you have a deep enough understanding of the game, you can. One indicator, it's not something I can explain to you, it's something you can just see it, the way, the time that they have to hit the ball. Just one of the indicators is they don't get themselves out very often. It's bowlers don't get them out very often. They are getting themselves out. That's generally how you can tell. It's when bowlers aren't getting them out. How often did a bowler get AB out? Maybe 1 in 10 every innings. The rest was AB getting AB out. Sometimes you can just tell that a player is next level. From a young age, they could tell that Tendulkar was going to be a superstar. That's why they gave him a chance for 108 innings to average 40. Look how that ended up, okay? AB de Villiers, you could see here, it's sick talent. Virat Kohli also didn't, okay, he's probably an exception because he started his ODI career really well, but his test career didn't start really well. But now look, you can just tell when a player is next level. And the thing is, you just need to give them a long enough run and they will pay you back. The art of selection is looking beyond the statistics. Markram is in the ODI squad. I will debate anyone on this anytime. So here's my number 4. Number 5, Rassie van der Dussen. Rassie's career is in its infancy. He has had a tremendous start to his career. If we look at his stats, overall he's averaging 88 at a strike rate, which isn't great, of 75. What's impressed me most about Rassie is his calm nature at the crease. What I really like about Rassie is, look, his strike rate isn't high, but I see him as that middle order anchor. It's a different kind of term. Normally you have an anchor at the top of the order. I see Rassie as that consistent anchor in the middle order, which I love, because often, especially in knockout tournaments, that's where South Africa struggled. We're chasing and, we lose a couple quick wickets and then we don't have that middle order stability. We maybe have 1 or 2 players firing, but we don't have that anchor. And that's why I think, especially for a World Cup tournament, I think Rassie could be really, really awesome. And look, he's in his infancy, but what impresses me is his calm nature, his composure at the crease. He doesn't look flustered. And what's interesting is his T20 record is pretty good. I mean, he can score fast. So I don't think that his strike rate of 76 is a lack of ability. One thing I do think he needs to improve is his rotating of the strike. I just think if he improves, just knocking those singles, which will come. He's good enough. That's part of his game. He still needs to develop. Just doing that and that alone, his strike rate will go above 80. So I'm really not worried about Rassi's strike rates. We've got Hash striking a 90, Markham 90, Faf 90, Miller 100. We've got some really explosive power in the team. You don't need every single player to be smashing it at a run or more a ball. Cool, so Rassi's my number 5. Number 6, David Miller. I love talking about this. Miller's another one that people just don't understand. I keep hearing people say that Miller's overrated. You're probably watching this and you're maybe thinking Miller's overrated. Let's just take a step back. We need to understand what type of player David Miller is. He has been completely misunderstood by both the public and by Cricket South Africa and the selectors. And it's taken them probably the better part of a decade to understand him and what his role in the side actually is. Now, if you think of David Miller, you think of this big, powerful hitting player, and he is. But people assume that means he must be a finisher. Because he scores fast, he must be a finisher. So for the better part of 10 years, because that's how long he's almost been in the side for, he's been played as a finisher. Now, that might be true for a lot of players, but it's not true for David Miller. Let's look at some of his stats. Okay, let's look at David Miller's stats. Okay, so he made his debut in 2010. So it's 9 years ago. That's what I'm saying, almost the better part of a decade. In that time, he averages 39 at a strike rate of over 100. That is significant. Now, let's go into the details. Now, what I did is my own analysis where I looked at all players of all time who had played a minimum of 100 innings, who had a strike rate of over 100. And I came up with 2, 4, 6, 7 players in the history of the game that have played over 100 innings, minimum 100 innings, and have a strike rate of 100. David Miller is one of those. Let that just sink in. In the history of ODI cricket, there have only been 7 players that have played 100 innings or more and strike it over 100. David Miller is one of them. It doesn't stop there. Not only that, in the history of ODI cricket, let this sink in, only 2 players have a higher average at a strike rate of 100 or more who have played a minimum of 100 innings than David Miller. That is phenomenal. And those are A.B. de Villiers, who played over 100 games, strikes over 100 and averages 53.5, which is just freaky when you look at the second best. Joss Butler, what a player. Joss Butler's 118 strike rate, played over 100 games, 100 innings, and his average is 41 pretty much. So David Miller is 3rd on that list. That is huge, people. People don't appreciate David Miller enough. Oh, and he can keep as well. Let's not forget that David Miller was trialled against Sri Lanka as a keeper recently. He took some really good catches and a stumping that some Indians compared to MS Dhoni stumpings. MS is known to be the best behind the stumps to spinners. Just talking about World Cup squad, some people feel that we need a backup keeper in case of injury. Klaasen was in the mix. He was in line probably 12 months ago. Besides for his pink ODI heroics against India, he hasn't done anything. He was kind of a one-hit wonder, which is a bit disappointing. So it would be a complete waste to fill a valuable World Cup spot with someone like Klaasen, who I think is a great player, but he just didn't cut it so far in international level. And, I guess the concern is, what if Quinton de Kock gets injured? God forbid. Well, at least we have someone like Miller who can do the job, and he seems like he's pretty talented behind the stumps. He's an amazing all-round fielder. I heard a story, I can't verify this, maybe one of you can help me out, that in the history of World Cups, No keeper has ever been injured during World Cup. I'm touching wood right now. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But at least if that does happen, we do have some backup. We don't need an out and out keeper in the squad. And I guess if De Kock does get injured, we could always call someone into the squad. I guess the only problem is if it happens like the night before a game, the day of a game, God forbid. But at least we have David Miller as a backup there. Um, so David Miller, exceptional batsman, and he can keep. Okay, so he's my number 6 in the World Cup squad. Number 7, the all-rounder position. I'm going to come back to this one, and I'll tell you why. Because this position, we've got a few all-rounders in contention. There's about 4 all-rounders that have the potential to make the team. For me, there's no one that really sticks out. There are some that are better than others. But I think that I'm going to base my all-rounder decision on the rest of the team balance and what the team needs to be a well-balanced side. So I'm going to come back there. Moving on, number 8, KG, Kagiso Rabada. Don't need too much justification. He is probably definitely a better test bowler than ODI bowler, but his ODI record is really, really good. He's got 106 wickets, an average of 26. What stands out here is an economy of under 5 in this day and age. That is exceptional. A strike rate of 32, phenomenal. He's having a phenomenal for IPL. I think as I speak, he's the leading wicket taker. And what's impressed me most, what excites me most, is his bowling at the death. He's getting those Yorkers in. That is going to be so crucial in the World Cup. This IPL experience is going to be huge for KG. Next, we have my man, Dale Steyn. Absolutely love him. What an absolute legend. ODI-wise, almost 200 wickets. He'll hit his 200th ODI wickets, which he deserves during the World Cup. He's averaging under 26, and his economy rate also in this day and age. Anything under 5 when teams are scoring 300 for fun. And also strike rate of under 32, absolutely phenomenal. He's my number 9. My number 10, Lungi. I love Lungi and Giddy. He has a phenomenal ODI record. He's arguably been our best ODI bowler of late, fast bowler of late. Averaging under 22. How's that strike rate? 24. Every 24 balls he's taking a wicket. He's a wicket taker, and that economy rate is also pretty respectable. A concern I have with Lungi is he is injury prone, unfortunately. I can think 3-4 times in his short international career that he's been injured. He missed the IPL recently because of injury, and he's just come back from injury. So that is a small concern, but let's hope that we have Lungi and Giddy firing and fit, because he is a fantastic ODI bowler. So he's my number 10. Imi! I absolutely love Imran Tahir. So overall, look, he's an absolute freak. Look at some of these numbers. So 162 wickets, average of 24, strike rate of 31, and economy rate of 4.6. He is the best ODI spin bowler South Africa has ever produced, hands down. I'm a massive fan of him. It's crucial. Let's talk about this quickly. The importance of having a wrist spinner in English conditions. Now, a lot of people that aren't as close to the game as some of us, they think England, they assume that swings and it seams and you need your fast bowlers and there's going to be seam movement. And no, if you've watched anything in the last 4 years, you will understand that England probably has they have the flattest pitches in the world at the moment. They have absolute roads, especially when it comes to ODI cricket. And any orthodox type of spinner in any team is going to get molested without Vaseline. That is just what's going to happen. You're going to have variety. You'll see the teams with the best spinners in terms of, those wrist spinners, those mystery spinners. Those are the guys that are going to do well in this World Cup. Everyone else is going to get hammered. All the other spinners are going to get hammered. If you're an orthodox left-arm spinner, I feel sorry for you. Okay, you shouldn't be in the side. You shouldn't be in the squad. And if you are in the squad, well, your team deserves to lose because your selectors don't know what they're doing. So the Kuldeep Yadavs, those are the guys that are going to do well this World Cup. The Imran Tahirs. There's some really good spin bowlers, Adura shit, he'll be expensive, but he'll take wickets. That's what you need. So the wrist spinners, the guys with googlies, a bit of mystery, difficult to read. Rashid Khan, he's going to have a great World Cup. I can't wait to see the Afghanistani youngster against some of the best sides in the world. I'm really excited for that. In my mind, he's going to be the most important bowler that we have in the World Cup. I think I mentioned this earlier in the episode. It is a disgrace that Cricket South Africa has not given him a contract. I gave them credit where they needed to get credit for the announcement with regards to targets. Here, I'm going to absolutely attack them because I think it is disgusting. What goes on in those boardrooms, the conversations that are had to not give our best. Let's look at his recent form. Our best ever ODI bowler. He's 40, but who cares? Who cares if you're still playing good cricket? Look at his overall figures. This year he's averaging 22 and a half at the ball. He did have a bad year last year. Everyone had a bad year last year. We played India at home and everyone got absolutely hammered. Look at his numbers. Averaging 25, 25, 25, 26, 24, 11. Recently, 23. This guy is an absolute freak. Okay, he is brilliant. Look at his form in the IPL. Okay, he deserves a contract. I think it's a disgrace because he didn't get a contract. You can't blame him for not going and deciding to retire. So he can go and make money and play international cricket. But Cricket South Africa, literally go fuck yourselves. So here's my number 11. Moving on. Let's go look at the all-rounder. So who's the all-rounder? Okay, so before we decide on the all-rounder, let's look at the team composition. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 strike bowlers. Now, these guys their strike rates are phenomenal. We've got Tahir at 31, we've got Ngidi striking at 24, Steyn striking at 32, Rabat at 32. Those are ridiculous strike rates. Okay, that's the first thing when we're looking at this team composition, because I'm going to base the all-rounder decision based on the team composition. Okay. If I look at South Africa's performance of late in the last year or two, the bowling's been amazing. The batting has let us down. It's often the bowlers that get us out of trouble. It's normally the batsmen that get us into trouble. So batting has been more of a weakness in bowling. Hash is struggling with form. Markram still finding his feet in ODI cricket. Rassie is still inexperienced. So, our batting's definitely more of a weakness of bowling. But having said that, we definitely do need a fifth bowler to complete the lineup. So we didn't do this last World Cup. We had 4 bowlers. We had Farhan fucking Bahadin and Riley Rousseau and Faf and AB making up the fifth bowler and JP Duminy, which was, we all know how that worked out for us. So look, we definitely need a fifth bowler to complete this lineup. So it is difficult. And fuck, we missed JK. So look, I'm looking for more of, we've got the strike bowlers. We've got, these guys are going to take you the wicket. So I don't feel like we need another wicket-taking bowler per se. Obviously, everyone needs to take wickets, but I don't think we need someone who's got a strike rate of 30. And, I would look, considering all of this, I would look as more of a batting all-rounder. And they're more of an economical bowler. That's the best way of putting it. So they can provide enough value with the bat at number 7, but can also fill that fifth bowler role and do it economically, because these guys are going to take most of the wickets. This guy just wants to hold and end up more than anything else. Okay. So look, just to reaffirm, I'm going to look at some of the options now. So we are looking for a batting all-rounder who can bowl economically. So let's look at the different options that we have. Cool. So starting off, Chris Morris. Now, it really concerns me. It worries me when the public and well-renowned cricket experts, guys like Polly and Antini and Simcox, when they want to include a guy like Morris in the squad. So firstly, he hasn't played ODIs for South Africa for a very, very long time. So anyway, he's probably not in contention. Okay. Now, they say with Chris Morris, he's a game changer and he's a strike bowler, and that may be true in domestic cricket and in other formats. But out of all of the bowlers in this list, let's just go through them. Morris, Mulder, Pelukwayo, and Pretorius. If Morris is meant to be the strike bowler, he's striking at 43, Mulder at 40, Pelu at 31, and Pretorius at 37, Morris actually has a worse strike rate. So he's actually not the strike bowler that we're looking for. Now, his ODI record is pretty atrocious. He's averaging 20 with the bat and 40 with the ball. Just let that sink in. It's not mixed up. This isn't a typo. He's averaging 20 with the bat and 40 with the ball. It should be the other way around for your all-rounder. Then you got a pretty fucking sick all-rounder. But he's been given chances. He's played 34 matches for South Africa. He's been given chances. And he just hasn't performed. For me, he's an absolute no-brainer that you cannot include him in the side. Next, we've got Mulder. Very young player. A lot of people saying this is our next JK. I don't like putting expectations on people like that. But if you look at his first class record, he's averaging around 40 with the bat. His bowling average is around low 20s with the ball. He is a phenomenal talent. He is going to be a phenomenal player for South Africa, but for me, it's far too early. He's far too inexperienced to be in the South African squad. It just can't work out for me. I mean, his career's in his infancy. I don't want to judge him on his statistics too much, but average of 15 with the bats and 39 with the ball. He's definitely not ready. He doesn't make my World Cup XR. Next, we have Lungi and Giddy. Sorry, we have Andile Pelukwayo. Okay, Pelukwayo, he's underrated in my eyes. So he's the most experienced out of all of these all-rounders. Morris 34 matches, Mulder 10, Pelu 43, and Pretorius 19. Now, interestingly enough, and not very many people know this, Pelukwayo has a better strike rate, 31, okay, than Dale Steyn, then Imran Tahir, and Kagiso Rabada. This guy's a wicket taker. He's underrated in my eyes. He's going to be a phenomenal, he's so young, he's early 20s. This guy is going to be an exceptional limited overs player for South Africa. I don't see it yet in test matches. I don't think he's quite there yet. He still has many years to evolve. So you never say never, but as an ODI player, as a limited overs player, this guy's very, very useful. He's averaging 32 at the bat at a really high strike rate of 92. He's averaging 29 with the ball at a strike rate of 31 and a decent economy. He can tend to be expensive, but he's pretty good. Now, when batting, he's actually a really good sweeper, so his background's actually in hockey, which makes him really useful against spinners, which makes him even more useful against mystery spinners. Because when you can sweep and you can reverse sweep, you don't have to be able to read the ball. If you play the line and the length of the ball well, and you get to the pitch of it by sweeping, the way the ball's spinning doesn't really matter. And he's probably our best sweeper. So look, overall, Pelu has a great ODI record. He does well under pressure. There was a game against Australia. We were chasing 370. He came out to bat with David Miller, and he got 370. So we chased 370, and he batted with Miller. Miller got a really big 100, and Pelu stuck in there. And he swept and he reverse swept, and under pressure, and he got us over the line with David Miller. Next up, we've got Pretorius. So look, Pretorius, only a handful of games, not that many games. Average of 20 with the bat, high strike rate, 95 with the ball. 95 strike rate with the bat. Average of 30 with the ball, strike rate 37 with the ball. What impresses me most is his economy of under 5. In this day and age, that is absolutely ridiculous. Now, look, on those flat English wickets, economy rates is really important. For me, Pelu is a little bit expensive. Pretorius, really, really good. Now, Pretorius, even though he's played 19 games, he hasn't really had an opportunity with the bat. He's only batted 8 times, interestingly enough. And often he only comes in with a couple of overs to go, and he hasn't had a real opportunity. So look, it's a really tough decision here between Pelu, because Pelu's done better with the bat, but bearing in mind Pretorius, he hasn't really been given the opportunities. Pelu's clearly a better strike bowler. He's got a lower strike rate, 31, compared to Pretorius, 37. Pelu's more expensive though. He's going at 5.6, a little bit expensive. Pretorius under 5 and over, that's insane. So look, it's a difficult decision. again, because Pretorius hasn't played that many games, it's unfair to look at his batting average. I know he's a better batter than that. So look, I couldn't make a decision just based on this. I had to look deeper into the data to decide between these two. So when deciding between Pretorius and Pelukwayo, I had to go back and look at their List A records. So interestingly, in List A records, they have a similar amount of matches, 83 for Pelu versus 85 for Pretorius. Really, really similar. So look, Pelu has the better bowling average. Pelu's bowling average is 30, whereas Pretorius's is 33. Batting wise, Pelu's average is 26, whereas Pretorius's is 33. So arguably, and you can kind of see it when they bat, even though their records don't show it yet in ODI cricket. I would say Pretorius is definitely a better batsman. If you look at their, if you look at their if you look at their first class records, I mean, Pretorius is averaging 40. He's a proper batsman. He just hasn't been given the opportunity for South Africa yet. But going back to these stats, it's clear that Pelu's a better bowler. I would say that Pretorius is a better batsman. Going back to what the team requires, remember, we are looking for a batting all-rounder with a good economy rate. And because of those reasons, I would play Pretorius ahead of Pelukwayo. It's harsh on Pelu. I'm a massive Pelu fan. This is purely because of the team balance. There's no other reason for this. Pelu's going to be an absolute superstar for South Africa, but for this World Cup, for what we need in this World Cup, I'm going to go with Pretorius. We have 4 other strike bowlers. I'd rather go for someone who doesn't have as many wickets but controls the scoring rate, especially on those flat English wickets. Having Pelu at 7 just doesn't feel right to me. There's something that doesn't sit well to me as a batsman. Yes, his average is good, maybe inflated by a lot of not outs. For me, he's a really good number 8. He just isn't there yet as a number 7, and it worries me. There will come a time in this World Cup where we are in early trouble and our number 7's in earlier than we want them to be against a side that's really good, and we need someone to come in and to be able to score big runs. And I just feel Pretorius can score bigger runs than Pelu. Both of them can hit it really well at the end. So both of them can, smash the ball. Both are striking it around 90. I just think that Pretorius is a better batsman. He has a much better economy rate. For me, I'm going to choose Pretorius. If you choose Pelu over Pretorius, I can respect that. It is a close decision. Cool. So let's look at what our squad looks like so far. So that for me is the best team so far. So we got Hash, De Kock, Faf, Markram, Rassie, Miller, Pretorius, Rabada, Steyn, Ngidi, and Tahir. Cool. So now I wanted to look at the last 4 to make the 15-man squad. So, look, for reasons explained previously, I'm going to include Pelu. For me, it's a no-brainer to include him in the squad. Next, I'm going to include Shamsi. Like I said, I don't think orthodox spinners are going to do well in England. They're going to get hammered. You need a backup spinner. You need that extra spinner. What if it's a really turning wicket? Then you got to play the extra spinner. So again, you've got to consider that you're going to be playing on different conditions. Pitches over the course of the tournament, they might deteriorate. You have to have that backup spinner. For me, it has to be a mystery spinner of some sorts. There's no one else really in the mix for contention. I know Maharaj did get a few opportunities. He's going to get hammered. He would get hammered in England. Shamsi is a really great spinner. Maharaj is too orthodox. I think that Shamsi just needs to work on his consistency. I think after Imi retires, we'll be seeing a lot more of Shamsi. He's still giving away that one bad ball per over. It just kind of gives away the pressure. But for me, Shamsi is definitely in my World Cup squad. Next, JP Duminy. He does make my squad. He does not make my team. Now, I'm going to go on somewhat of a rampage over this man. Please understand, I'm just stating facts. If you don't like the facts, There's only one man that can change the facts, and that is JP Duminy. I think that Cricket South Africa has mixed him and Miller's roles up over the last decade or so, where JP's been seen as the lower middle order batsman or the middle order batsman, and Miller's been seen as the finisher. And when you watch JP bat, you can kind of understand why. The man exudes talent. You watch him bat, and he is phenomenal. He just looks so good technically. He looks like he's got so much talent. He's obviously gifted, but for me, he's lacking in the international stage. Now, I've heard some outlandish statements that JP is a shoo-in the Proteas World Cup XR, never mind the XV. The only XR JP Duminy makes for me is the you never fulfilled your potential XR. And now let me explain to you why. So, let's look at some stats. I love looking at stats because this is where what people don't look at and selectors I don't believe look at. JP Duminy has been playing for 15 years. 15 years. In 15 years, he only has 400s. So let's just start with batting. I'll get into bowlers. Now, if you look at this, his overall record, you see he's averaging 37 at a strike rate of 84, and you think, cool, not bad. Okay, but let's dig a little bit deeper. Okay. It's a long time that he's been in this side. He's 15 years, he's almost played 200 games. That is a lot of experience. Now, an average of 37 at a strike rate of 84, you'd think it's not that bad. But what happens if we take away the weaker teams in those 15 years? You know, I'm seeing a lot of names like Ireland and Kenya and Netherlands and UAE. You know, I'm seeing a lot of these. We're also going to take out West Indies and Zim, who've probably struggled in the last 15 years. What happens if we take those countries out of JP stats? How do they look? Well, I took the liberty of looking at this. In 15 years, in 138 games, JP Duminy has never scored an ODI 100 for South Africa against a big side. Let that sink in. Okay? His average, he doesn't even average 30 against the big sides. Okay? In 2004, since 2004, he hasn't scored a single century against one of the big teams. Now, what else has happened since JP Duminy has made his debut? So in 15 years, he's had an opportunity to score lots of runs against lots of teams, and he hasn't. He's only done it against the minnows. JP Duminy is the very definition of a minnow basher, okay? And he gets chance after chance after chance after chance. Thank God he's announced his retirement, because Cricket South Africa would just play him until he was in his 80s, it seems. So I wanted to look at what else has happened, not just in cricket or sport, but in the world since 2004, since JP made his debut, where JP hasn't scored 100 against any of these big teams. Well, Facebook was founded, okay? It was also founded in 2004, okay? The same year JP made his debut, and now has 2.3 billion users. YouTube was invented. Twitter was founded. The USA has had 3 presidents since JP Duminy's debut. Since his debut, Liverpool won the Champions League when they were 3-0 behind in 2005 and made that amazing comeback. Apple has launched the iPhone since JP Duminy's debut. They now have 19 versions of the iPhone since JP Duminy's debut. Usain Bolt, think how far back this goes. He broke the world record and many other world records for running. Kevin Peterson, so since JP Duminy made his debut, Kevin Peterson made his debut, scored over 10,000 test runs, won the Ashes 4 times, and then retired from international cricket. In all this time, JP Duminy hasn't scored 100 against a decent or a big side. It's an absolute joke, and it's a fucking disgrace that he's been kept in the side for as long as he has. These teams that he has failed against, these are the teams that we need to be doing well against if we are going to win a World Cup. But wait, JP Duminy's a bowler. Let me not forget. I love this. I absolutely love this because people jump to this. Is JP Domini really a bowler? Is he actually an all-rounder? In my opinion, no. And the stats back me up. He's not an all-rounder. It is the biggest lie that has ever been told. Even including the minnow sides, he averages 45 with the ball at a strike rate of 51. He should not bowl in England. He will get hammered in England, and I hope Faf du Plessis doesn't bowl him in England. It's a disgrace that he's even talked about as an all-rounder. It's a lie sold by Cricket South Africa to justify his continuous inclusion in the team. Now, people have said to me, yeah, but he's so talented, and you know what if he scores you a World Cup 100 in the final? This isn't about me. I need to take ego out of this. I'm not a JP Domini fan. Okay, I think that's pretty clear at this point. For me, this isn't about me being right or about me being wrong. I don't give a fuck if I'm right or if I'm wrong. If JP Domini scores 100 in the final, I will publicly admit that I was wrong about him. This isn't about me predicting what may or may not happen. This is about choosing the best team to win you a World Cup. I'm so happy to be wrong about this. I hope I'm wrong about this and he scores 100 in the World Cup final. Okay? I hope I'm wrong about absolutely everything I've said about JP if that's what it takes for us to win a World Cup. This isn't about me. This isn't about my views. This is about preparing a squad that gives you the best chances of success. And for me, JP Domini is not, for the reasons I've explained here, going to give you the best chances of success. One thing I will say about JP, and this is why he is in my squad, is he actually is a pretty good finisher. It's taken them 10 years to realize this, and the truth is he is going to be in the team. I know that my XI is not the XI that will be chosen. I know that. I haven't designed it to predict what CSA is going to do. I've designed it for what I believe is the best XI and the best XV. JP is going to be in the side. As much as I'm not a JP Domini fan, and please understand this, firstly, he needs to be playing the finisher role and not David Miller. Okay, so he needs to be coming David at 6 or 5 or 6 and JP after David. Okay, I don't know who they're going to leave out. They might leave out Rassi, God forbid they leave out Markram, I'll lose my shit. If they leave out Hash, I'll kind of understand that. If he is going to play, he needs to play the finisher role. And last thing, if he does play, when he does play, I will support JP 100%. I'm putting my pride aside, I'm putting my ego aside. It's not about me, it's not about my beliefs on JP. I've just stated facts. If you don't like the facts, if they've upset you, well, they're stats, they're facts, they're statistics. And like I said, there's only one man that can change that, and that's not me, that's JP Domini. If and when he plays, he has 100% of my support because that is in the best interest of South African cricket, of winning us a World Cup. Cool. So, looking at JP's our 14th. Lastly, I'm going to include Nortje. Okay, that means I have left out Reza. If we look at our squad just overall, it looks like we have a lot more batting depth than bowling depth. And that's the reason why I've included Nortje over Reza. We already have enough batsmen, especially with JP in the mix. We don't need an extra Reza. Sorry, he misses out. It concerns me that we don't have a backup pace bowler. So if you look at our pacemen, we're relying on Rabada, Steyn, and in Gideon. Yes, we have the all-rounders in Pretorius and Pelokwayo, but we don't have that backup pace bowler. So for squad balance, I've included Nortje. What if one of our pacers loses form, or even worse, gets hit by injury? Dale's spent a lot of time recently out of cricket in the last few years because of injury. Rabada has literally played almost every single game. He hasn't been managed well by CSA. Touch wood, he doesn't get injured, but he really needs to be managed a lot better. Giddy, very injury prone in his short career, already been injured 3 or 4 times. So we need that backup bowler for me. The injury threat is real. Having said that, I think Nortje is a serious talent. He looks like he's got awesome pace. He was tested against Sri Lanka. He had a great ODI series. He looks like he has a lot of talent, and he would be in my squad. Looking back at the squad, for me, it depends you know, yes, this is my best XR. That doesn't mean it's the XR I'd play every single game. You've got to look at conditions. You've got to look at who you're playing against. You've got to look at which players are in form. You've got to look at, there's so many factors to consider in each and every single game. But I do believe that the squad is the best potential squad for South Africa to win a World Cup. And I do believe that if the squad, utilizing the resources of the squad in the right games against the right countries at the right times, I believe there's enough talent here to bring the World Cup home for South Africa. Lastly, I'm going to ask special request for Cricket South Africa. Please, please play in pink. South Africa's won 6 out of their 7 matches ever in pink. We have an 86% World Cup record. I'd love to hear from you guys listening and watching this. Who is in your XR? Do you disagree with any of my selections? Would you have reason aside? Who would you leave out for that? Cool. Just to end off, we end every single episode with a piece of trivia, which we answer in the next episode. So let's test your cricket knowledge. So we're on the topic of World Cups. Most of us know that Sachin Tendulkar has the most runs in World Cups. That's quite a widely known piece of trivia. But not a lot of people know this. Which bowler has the most World Cup wickets and how many? Cool guys, I've really enjoyed this episode. I hope you've enjoyed watching and listening, and we'll see you really soon. The South African World Cup squad is getting announced tomorrow. I wanted to get this video out before the World Cup squad just to show that my ideas are not influenced by anything that Cricket South Africa does. This is the team and squad that I believe is the best to win South Africa World Cup. In terms of the trivia, reach out to us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, and you can listen to us on Spotify and most other podcast platforms. I've really enjoyed this episode, our first recorded episode. Check you next time.